I'll talk about what I've been working on the last couple of weeks. I mean, outside of traveling and outside of holidays, the last couple of weeks, as you saw, I just released my Home Lab Services Tour. So everything that I'm self-hosting in my Home Lab, and some of the stuff that I'm hosting publicly, and I walk through pretty much everything. I mean, pretty much everything. I think a couple of people called out some good things that I'll add for next year. Some people said, hey, you didn't talk about what you use for VPN. Well, I use WireGuard, so I just, spoiler, I use WireGuard. I use it with my UDM Pro, so that's there. But I walked through a lot of services that I use, a lot of some of them open source, some of them closed, some of them self-hosted, some of them closed source, self-hosted, and even some cloud I talked about a little bit, like when I was talking about how I check my services externally, because I can't check my services internally, because if the checker that goes down, Uptime Kuma goes down, then I have no idea, like it does like to do sometimes. So some of the things I host publicly, I still check with Uptime Robot, which Uptime Kuma basically copied. And so yeah. But yeah, so there's that. So I walked through everything. There was tons of questions in that video too. It actually did really good. So I do appreciate you asking those questions. So yeah. Let's see. Exi Getio. Hey, Techno Tim, thanks for the videos that helped me get started with some lightweight home lab stuff. Hey, no problem at all. I'm glad it helped you. I sometimes I worry about, do I go too far? Is this, the right level of content? And so I've come up with this slogan that helps me sometimes, that I think about, and it's like, I'm just going to be unapologetically nerdy, basically myself. So anyways, I'm glad it's helping you with lightweight stuff. I hope that it helps you on your journey and takes you somewhere with it for sure. Judah Range says, hey, how's it going? CBP Pilot, how's it going? Well, not necessarily Home Lab. I would love to see a video about ACLs on TrueNAS Scale for Active Directory setup. Interesting. I see where you're going. We talked about Home Lab being a place to learn things and to bring to the business world. Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to set up TrueNAS at the company I work for, and I'm running into issues migrating files from our Windows shares to TrueNAS, mainly on the ACL side. Yes, I have looked into this before. Because I was thinking about bringing in not necessarily Active Directory, but Open LDAP into my environment so that I could do ACLs for LDAP. I want to say Tom Lawrence has a video on it. If there's someone who has a video on this stuff, it's absolutely Tom Lawrence. Don't quote me on that, but I thought that's where he said it, or he mentions it somewhere in another video where he goes through file permissions for SMB shares. But yeah, that's a good point. I always struggle with, like, do I bring Active Directory in my environment or don't I? So I don't have any Windows licenses, and if I'm going to bring up a domain controller, I need one or two or maybe three. It's been a while since I've done Windows administration outside of desktop stuff, Windows Server stuff. So it's tough. It's tough. Oh, Jeff from Crap Computing has one. All right, there we go. No, but good question, CBP Pilot. Maybe someday. I got to figure it out. I mean, the easy button for me would just be Azure Directory Services, and then I can at least experiment, with AD and or with LDAP or Active Directory without building up that infrastructure, because I don't have Windows licenses. And again, this goes back to like, okay, well, I could use Open LDAP and stuff like that. So, yeah. Maybe. Like, Open LDAP has been in my backlog like forever. It's just like, okay, when and if. That's pretty much how it is. Alphitros, how's it go? Techno Tim, I dropped table chat messages. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I don't know. That's exactly what happened. But in my own way of doing it. Once you refresh Twitch chat, at least in this window that I'm in, kind of all goes away. Actually, the mod view. All right, I'm not going to get distracted, because I think if I went into my mod view now, I would have a chat history. I do apologize. Just repost, please. Let's see. Bill Mayer. Hey, how's it going? What's in the... Man, you guys, nothing gets past you guys. Bill Mayer asks, what's in the new 1U box on the workbench? Yeah, nothing gets past you. Bill, I think ever since I almost blew my cover on something back there, I think people are looking back there, but... Anyways, Bill, that is a UDMSC. That's oh yeah. I don't. Which one did you do? Because I need to. Hawaii Sunset. All right. This is another thing I need to fix. I'm going to be moving this to Home Assistant soon, but I have to manually click some buttons for that to change. There we go. There we go. Yeah, man, you guys are making me work today. No, I have to click buttons. I have no chat. I have to use my brain. But that one you back there, UDMSC, it's something I'm doing for testing. As you know, I'm going to be doing some possibly. I still need to talk to the folks that are letting me move stuff into a colo, but gonna be doing some colo stuff where I move a lot of self-hosted stuff into, I guess, my personal cloud, into a colocation. And I need a firewall, router / switch kind of all in one because my space is limited. And after thinking about it a little bit, I was like, okay, UDMSC work out pretty good because firewall, VPN, I mean, most things will. But for the most part, it has 8 or 9 ports on it. 8 plus 3, 11, I think, 11 ports on it, which is perfect for the servers that I need to move there. And so I was having a tough time figuring out, like, you know, because they need to be rack mountable. I can't just have a shelf in there with stuff flying around. So I needed tons of ports and a switch and a firewall to cram all into one U, and so that was a device that could do it for me pretty easily. So anyways, that's when I just set it up just a little bit ago just to update it, and pretty soon I'll be be physically cleaning up a lot of my servers, and like physically cleaning up, like actually, you know, reapplying new paste, making sure all the drives are working, testing them, making sure they're ready to go. And then shortly after that, I'll be doing the logical cleaning up, virtual cleanup of those machines, because they're still running Proxmox on them, and I'm going to figure all that out, what they're going to run in the future to build my personal cloud in a colo. So all self-hosted, just not hosted in my house, which my house has been fine for a long time, but I want to do some cool stuff with tunnels and stuff like that. So that's what it is, man. Nothing gets by you. Blade, welcome back. Hope you had a good holiday. Thanks, Blade. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I did pretty good. I've had this weird, like, lingering kind of, I don't know if it's cold or something, but I had it when I traveled, when I came back and went away, and now I got it again. So who knows? That's why my voice is a little bit deep. But thanks, man. Yeah, it was a good holiday. It was for sure. Got to go back to my hometown and see my family. So it's a good time. Mr. Technician, let me know if you decide on a price for that 48-port switch. Yeah, it's not doing anything right now, but uplink. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. While I don't like holding on to hardware, that is one I might hold on to for a little bit, because you know, if I ever need another 48 ports, like, or mine dies, I got to rebuy. But also, I don't like having, you know, things, you know, depreciating in value in my hands when someone else could use them too. So yeah, I will let you know. I will let you know. If I do sell it, though, it's going to be local. I think you said you are local-ish. So only because, like, I don't want to deal with shipping and all that. Plus, yeah. So let's see. Alfie, Caster Labs, Alfie Truss. Oh, yeah, the Bobby drop tables. Yeah, for sure. What is the Home Lab? Oh, HL. Yeah, Home Lab. All right, let's see. Home Lab. Let's see. It's Harden. It's Hadron. It's Harden. It's Hadron. I've got a setup that works right now, but TrueNAS ACLs can also be painful at times. It takes a bit of figuring out for yourself. Or are you just wanting things like shares? Oh, that's in a reply. Yeah, there is also, I think I saw in Tom Lawrence's video, there's some magic thing you have to do. It was a magic checkbox that you either check or uncheck that you have to make sure so it can work, so ACLs can work with LDAP accounts or Active Directory accounts. And maybe that's what I'm remembering from his video. I've looked at a lot of his videos over the last month because I've been definitely tuning my new TrueNAS server. So that's another thing I've been working on, tuning the heck out of it, and it's running pretty good now. Mr. Technician, I'm 21. That means I'm just over half dead. Yeah, you are half dead. That oh man, if that's true, I'm dead. 40 years old is that's twice your age. Yeah, 30 is the new 70. Wait, the other way around. The other way around. 70 is the new 30, not 30 is the new 70. I hope not. That's how it was probably like 1,000 years ago, I think, where the average life expectancy was like, 32. Let's see. Had a physical not too long ago. Everything checked out. All right, piece of geek. Staying healthy. I like it, and I'm glad you went and got a physical. I encourage everyone to go get a physical. I know it's not a popular topic, but I think that everyone should do their yearly check-in with their doctor, only because like a lot of things are, you can, if you discover a lot of things earlier, they can be addressed. I guess I would say, and think of how often you check your data on your server, or check the uptime, or check, how hot the temperatures are on your CPUs. Well, think of your body like that, and think of how often you do that. And I think once a year is a minimum. So anyways, I'm not going to preach, but yeah, I agree. It's good to get checked out, get your vitals checked once a year. That's what I think. Phil, fill me up. 5. Phil. Oh, man. Tim, I tried setting up Nextcloud on Ubuntu VM in a Proxmox. Is that not advisable? It never populated var dub, and I went through the NC install during Ubuntu setup. Let me know. Love the channel. Thank you, Phil. Me up. Phil, no, it's totally fine. If you want to run anything in a virtual machine, totally fine. If that's how you want to manage your infrastructure, it's totally fine. I use containers because it's a little bit easier, does create some more complications. And then on top of that, I use Kubernetes, which causes even more complications. And you can see how those can compound quickly. But no, a VM should be fine if that's how you want to manage it. It should populate that var dub. So I think on the first startup, it does populate it, and it should populate it. If it doesn't, I would remove that package, and not just a normal remove. I forget, it's like force or something. You basically in Ubuntu want app to force clean up that package too, so it removes everything. Because I have a feeling like if you've removed it and added it and removed it and added it, and it failed the first time, it probably has some config somewhere that says, yes, I already populated var dub, or I've already bootstrapped, Nextcloud, and it didn't. And so what you want to make sure that you do is it should also remove those configuration files from Ubuntu as well. Worst case scenario, if it's a VM, you could wipe it and start a new one. But I have a feeling if you do a force uninstall or force remove to tell Ubuntu, or apt, I guess it should say, to clean up those configuration files too, the next install should work. But you're right, it should populate that directory with Nextcloud, HTML, and CSS and JavaScript. So I hope that helps. If not, hop in our Discord. We'll figure it out. Wayfinder, hey, thanks for all you do. I've been subbed to YouTube for years, but first time catching the stream. Hey, thank you. Sorry, so many things are kind of going wrong. Usually I would highlight your chat message up here, but it's not working. But thank you. I appreciate it. I always love to see when someone's new in here, and when someone's new to YouTube, and when someone does both. That's like it's awesome. It means it's working. So. GamePin, I'm about to turn the big 50, so I'll get you. All right, man. I'm not there yet, but hey, man, that's another milestone, another good milestone. But happy early birthday. Happy early birthday. 50 is the new, I think 50 is the new 30. If 40 is the new 20, I think so. All the youngins are probably like, what are these old people talking about? Let's see. Jumbo Slice Chicago. All right. Jimbo. Oh, sorry. That was Jumbo Slice. I had pizza on the mind. I was like, I'll take a Jumbo Slice of Chicago deep dish. Yeah, I'm here for it. Jimbo Slice, Chicago. Hey man, how's it going? Happy Saturday. My latest project is learning JS and other coding. Awesome. Been fun seeing what I can build and link to my Home Assistant. Hey, that is awesome. So I assume you're learning JavaScript, probably maybe some HTML too, but you're doing JavaScript. So maybe you're doing Node.js or just plain old JavaScript. You're probably using Node to run it, or you're running it in a browser and you're executing some stuff to communicate with Home Assistant. That is awesome. You're ahead of me. I've had that in my backlog for a long time, to be able to write code against Home Assistant, because what I'm using right now is I have to click buttons, and I don't want to click buttons anymore. But I did write a UI to do some stuff against some internal stuff, and I would love to write it against Home Assistant so I can automate it. So. Awesome. That is fun. That is fun. Hey, streamer. Hey, chat. How's it going? A lot of tests. All the chats. Oh, milk. I forgot that one was in there. EXE. Get EIO. Oh man, I got to be able to pronounce this. OBS updates break just shy of everything. Yeah, I feel like they do a lot of times, and for some reason OBS forgets about files that are remote almost every time, and I have to say go search in this directory. I don't know, but it's you know, as you say, but OBS is still the best. I totally agree. It's the best by far. There's so many good things about it to like, and sometimes I focus on the things that go wrong. Most of the time, it's my fault. Because I'm using Mac OS sometimes, or because I did something, or I deleted my share, or because I do these super complicated things with it. So, but yeah, OBS, I couldn't imagine. I wouldn't be on Twitch without OBS, for sure. Mr. Technician, we're getting some live debugging. Love to see it. I mean, it's this really weird. I don't want to say weird because the extension is awesome. It's called Chat Ninja, but it's weird how you have to configure it because I have to like unpack it and then install a Chrome extension from my local hard drive, which Chrome's just like, whoa, this should be off limits, right? Unless you're a developer. So I have to turn on developer settings, and then if that directory goes away or moves, like I've accidentally done sometimes, everything freaks out, and then I have to test in production. So few things I'd love to smooth over with my stream. One is that, and two is my audio. A lot of times, as you can see, I do an audio test every time I start up. When I ran Windows on my Windows box that I might be rebuilding, who knows, whenever Intel releases 15th gen, looks like the end of this year, which is, whoa, a long time. Anyways, my Windows box, it was rock solid. I never had to guess if my audio was working. Mac OS, it's probably not most of the time, so. Anyways, bad token might be the token in the URL, and I since I blew it away and redid it, it might be PC Geek. You might be right. CBP Pilot, I'm setting up this company. All right, I like this. I like what this is going. I'm setting up a company of 40 people. I've become the de facto sysadmin. All right, I was liking it up until then, but yeah, I know what you mean. We use Active Directory, and part of the problem is some of the files on Windows shares are not owned by system. Yeah, when I robocopy them to a new TrueNAS directory, gets an error because system does not exist on the TrueNAS box. Yeah, so yeah, yes. So I know exactly what you're doing. So you're copying files, probably between shares or from the TrueNAS file system to a share that's now SMB, and you're using Robocopy on the Windows machine somewhere to do it, and you don't have the same owner as before, because on TrueNAS it was system, and now it needs to be someone else, and that system doesn't exist on Windows. So then on Windows, someone has to like say, hey, yeah, take ownership of all these files, and it's kind of a permissions nightmare. I don't know of an easy way around that. There might be. I'm sure you're not the first to do it, but I don't know of an easy way around that. And I know why you're using Robocopy, because you want to persist. You want to persist modified date, access date, and permissions. But if you're copying from a Linux system that didn't have that owner to begin with, I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to fix that. I wish I knew, but this sounds like to me like if you could set no owner, but that sounds weird, like not to have an owner on a file. So, I wish I knew. I'm sure someone knows in our Discord for sure. But I need to, yeah, like I said, like I would love to run some kind of Active Directory at some point so I could do these things too. I do have SMB shares, but my SMB shares, when I had to do, Robocopy stuff, funny enough, I just did Robocopy stuff a couple of weeks ago, and it's exactly why. I was copying from an SMB share that already had those owners set to a Windows user. So when I copied those files to the new share, is what I was doing, old share, new share, old TrueNAS, new TrueNAS, the owner did exist. So So I'm not sure. Yeah, Blade, he's all over it. I missed half the question, but you could choose not to copy the properties. Yeah, you can for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that might be an option. I don't know if Robocopy will allow you to not set a user, maybe. But you might want modified in access state. Maybe that may or may not be what you want. I did for me when I moved files between, because I didn't want to sort by modified date and see the modified date be the create date, which was the date it copied. So yeah. All right. You have support for sure, because I know these folks have done it. Let's see. Frankly bagged. I just set up Fresh RSS. It was super easy to do, using it in place of YouTube recommendations, since I hardly ever get recommended videos from the channels I watch. I like it. Hopefully you added me. That's awesome. I hear a lot of people do that. I think Tom Lawrence is a big fan of doing that too. I like it. I think Jeff Geerling's talked about it too. I should do that. I'm kind of like I watch whatever the algorithm shows me, and then I have my list of people I check up on. Fresh RSS would give me the list of people I check up on, and not have to worry about the algorithm anymore. Although the algorithm is nice sometimes, because then I discover people I wouldn't have known otherwise, or interesting topics, I should say. The topics are what lead me to the people, and so which is nice, especially a lot of small YouTubers. With now an algorithm, I wouldn't even know they exist. So sometimes it is nice. Like, I know people hate algorithms, but at the same time, like, if we didn't have one, I would never get discovered. But anyways, unless I was just like, buying ads and like getting my name out there. But anyways, long story short, I'll have to check it out because I would love to do that for the people. It would be like my list of people that I care about every video. I care about every video for some people, like whether the algorithm does or not. And then I like the algorithm because that shows me topics or people. It's just discoverability. That shows me topics or people that I might be interested in. But you know how that goes with algorithms. Blade, it's nice to Blade Fresh is great. In place of using YouTube subscriptions, I use RSS. It's nice seeing what I want to see. Yeah, I totally agree. That's what we were talking about. Alfie Tross, I'm trying to figure out a sensible way to run a number of Python scripts in an automated way for logging and various jobs. Part of the fun is finding a way to easily update the scripts and configure the Python environment. I was thinking about a custom Docker container that would take the path, as an argument, but not sure if there's a better way to manage that. A bunch of system D tasks are easiest, but it would be nice to have a Docker container orchestrate that. Yeah. So yes. Yes, everything you said. So the way, so if you want to use a certain version of Python, or you want to use a certain version of anything, like I use Node or Python or Go or whatever you want, there's usually a container that already has that version for you. So what I would do is if I were to do this, if I was like, hey, I have a Python, I need a Python 3 environment and I need a Python 2 environment. But on top of that, I want to do different things. Personally, what I would do is I would build a new container that is based on 2 and one that is based on 3. Because those are already set up for you. Or you can go all out and go custom if you want. But for me, I would start a new Docker file and I would say from Python 2. And that's basically saying, hey, I'm going to inherit everything, all the goodness that comes from Python 2, do your other things, and then there's your container. And then if you want environment variables for other things, not necessarily for your Python version, I would do them there. And then the same thing I personally would do for 3, I would have another container that I manage and say, hey, here's all the Python 3 stuff I want to use. And the first line I would say from Python 3, and then I would do all my custom stuff underneath there and expose some more variables. So then you do end up managing 2 containers, but for the most part, they're both inherited from 2 or 3. You could even get fancy and, combine them, or have a build process that got you down to 1. But I think I would stick with 2. If you're thinking about 2 versus 3, I don't know if you're talking about like 3-3 versus 3-4, but I would stick with 2 different ones because, you know, if 3-3 has, or 3-4, or you want to move to 3-5, hey, you only need to change the 3-3, 3-4, 3-5 one. And if something happens in 2 and they backport a security patch, then you only have to bump that one to say, okay, now it's from, you know, Python 2 dot whatever security patch version, and then you could do it that way. So that's kind of how I do it. That's how I build my custom containers when I either build my code or run my code in production environments. I always inherit from the official one, and then I do my custom stuff. And a lot of times my custom stuff is very minimal, right? Because I don't want to stray too far from them. So anyways, I think I have some examples in a few places for things like that. But yeah, that's the way I would go. That's the way I go. I think so. But let me know. I might be way off. But then easiest way would have Docker Orchestrate. Yeah, absolutely. Let me make sure I didn't go too far off in the weeds, because I like this topic a lot, and sometimes I tend to focus on like the pieces I like and maybe not what you were asking. But not sure if there's a better way to management. Yeah. I think I got it. I think I got Alfie Trust. But let me know. We can talk in Discord too. But that's the way I always go. Inherit. You know, don't do anything fancy like, oh, I'm going to inherit from Debian. What I would say is, if you were going to go down the path of like, oh, I'm going to inherit from Debian, and I'm going to install all the tools that I need, I would say start with Python first, the base of Python, then do your pip stuff to install the things you need, and then do your custom stuff. Because then you're like, sweet, my upstream is the official one. When the official gets a security patch, I just bump the number and boom, I got all the fixins from them, and I don't need to adjust anything. And then you don't have to get all crazy with your apt installing very specific versions. So anyways, this is on container building stuff. I love doing it. I built tons of containers. I do it for work. I do it for fun too. So. But yeah, hopefully that helps. Let's see. G'day. How's it going? Hey, Tim. Great tour of your lab. Would be great if you could cover off on your TrueNAS setup. Oh, yeah. Happy New Year, too. Thank you. G'day. Yeah, I think I am. I have a few more optimizations I want to make. If you didn't see my Twitter post recently, I added, heat spreaders or heat sinks to my NVMEs because they were cheap. I don't know. But anyways, I've done tons of optimizations. Some includes hardware. None of it really includes heat sinks. But I think I might put it together in one video and say, hey, I set up TrueNAS. It's basically like, hey, I set up TrueNAS. Here are the challenges I had. Here is how I address them, and hopefully not make it 50 minutes long. Although 40 did pretty good. I don't know if getting any longer than that is going to do any good. So, but yeah, it is on my short list for sure, because I need to do this while it's fresh. If I do it in 6 months, I'll never remember what I did. Let's see, Bill. The only thing I missed was your backup strategy. Yes, Bill, I saw that in the comments. I am sorry. You were right. I didn't mention my backup strategy at all. My backup strategy, it's a multi-honed approach. And I'll just say it right now. So my backup strategy is one, if it's a VM, I'm gonna back up the VM. Sorry, my hair is super big. It's borderline Kramer right now, but I like seeing how tall I can get it. I'm just gonna have a high top soon. Just kind of like woof. I'm seriously gonna do Marge Simpson here soon. Anyways, yes, backup strategy. It looks like this. I try to have 3-2-1. Currently, I don't have 3-2-1 because I took one of my old servers down. What does 3-2-1 mean? It means three copies, 2 mediums, 1 off site. And so I don't have the 3 copies now. I have 2-1. Soon I'll have 3. It's so confusing trying to break down the 3-2-1, like what lives the where. But I did give away one of my servers on Twitter a little while ago to someone here in the Twin Cities. That was my 3. That was my second. No, that was my second copy. So that was my second copy. This is why it gets confusing. That was my second copy of data in my environment. To back up to. I don't have that backup yet. I will soon. But I do have back offsite to the cloud, and with some of the stuff, I do have local copies anyway. So that aside, I will have to do one again. As far as backup goes, you guys know I run Proxmox. If you don't, hey, I run Proxmox as a hypervisor. All of those virtual machines get backed up on a schedule. Those get backed up just to NFS. And I think I do them only, I think I have 3 tiers set up. I don't quote me on this, but I think it's like, I only back up my VMs, I think once or twice a week, because like the data on there is also backed up. So like I said, I took a tiered approach to backing up. My VMs aren't that important. The data inside of some of those is important. So I've decided that, hey, my VM snapshots and backups to NFS can happen weekly. If I miss something in a week, that's bad. But at the same time, the data inside them is more important. I'll get to that in a second. So I snapshot those weekly, and then I retain those for 3 weeks. So basically I have a month of backups, right? For all my virtual machines. Then on top of that, what I do is those virtual machines are running things like, most of them are running Kubernetes, but it's running things like, databases. It's lots of databases, I guess I should say. Lots as in 3 different types of databases. A lot of things have configs. Some of it is Longhorn, which is, storage inside of my cluster. So what I end up doing is backing those important pieces up inside of those VMs to Minio or to object storage, which runs on my TrueNAS. All of those back, I've decided that if I'm going to back something up outside of my cluster, it's going to be either NFS, only for virtual machines, or it's going to be Minio, which is S3 compatible storage, which is really just object storage. So for my databases, I have a job that runs daily that says export this database to S3. I'm going to say S3, just assume I mean Minio, because S3 is a lot easier for people to wrap their heads around. I should just call it object storage. How about that? So I have a job, Postgres, export the database to object storage. MySQL, export to object storage. And so this is like my and the same goes for my Mongo database. And the same goes for Longhorn stuff. So this is kind of like my disaster recovery stuff inside of there, to where, hey, if restoring the VM didn't work, and restoring the VM, restoring the Longhorn volume didn't work, now I have to do true disaster recovery, which is recreate the thing, get the data off of object storage, restore that. And so that's the most manual way of doing it. I never want to resort to that, and that's why I call it DR, is because I'd have to spin up a new thing, I'd have to configure it, and then I'd have to import databases, yada, yada, yada. And so that's like the least likely thing, but that is also the most portable thing. And so I try to keep things in object storage that are portable. What's portable? Well, a SQL file is very portable. I could take that SQL file and restore it to RDS. I could restore it on my machine right here. I could restore it anywhere I want. Pretty portable. And also config files. So I have a lot of machines that just basically dump config files to there as well. Those are very portable. I don't have to restore a whole virtual machine to get to the config file, or I don't have to restore a whole Longhorn volume to get to the config file. I can get to the config file within my object storage, which is tarred and gz'd up, very easily. So it's kind of weird. But I like doing this multi-honed approach because, I don't want my backups always tied to a system. Right? Like, what if one day I was like, not going to use Longhorn anymore? I'm going to use Rook-Ceph. Well, if Longhorn was my only source of backups, I would have to like restore Longhorn to a good state to then get my data out of that volume. And so I take this approach where I'm like, okay, well, if I want these things to be portable, if I want to be able to do something in a disaster recovery, my first piece shouldn't be, restore the old thing, get the data off to then use it. That was a really long answer for some of the things that I've experienced and, some of my thoughts about backing up. So anyways, long story short, multi-honed approach. It's not very complicated. It kind of sounds like it is, but at the end of the day, snapshots, backup VMs, I back up VMs, then I back up Longhorn volumes, and then I replicate a lot of that, and then I back up file level stuff that is not, it's file level that's not replaceable or recreatable to object storage. And then on top of all that gets backed up to Backblaze. So that's my offsite. I hope that helps, man. I meant to respond when I saw your comment on YouTube, but man, those comments were flying in, and I just had a lot going on. But hey, I got to answer it here. So, all right, let's see. I spent a lot of time on that. I do apologize. Trying to figure out a sensible way. Backups. All right, let's see. Hyperfocus is actually a symptom of ADHD. Hey, I didn't know that, Blade. Didn't know that. Maybe I have that because I like I've never researched it. I really don't know the symptom, but I feel like I have the opposite of what I thought was the opposite of ADHD, where I can focus on something so long that it's probably unhealthy. Probably unhealthy because I won't give up. I won't give up until it's fixed or done. Or I have this thing in my head that tells me, like, if I just finish this thing, I won't ever have to think about it or do it again. And so that's always ingrained in my brain is like, you know, if I just finish this, I don't have to ever revisit it. And you know how that goes with technology, you know, like that's never true. But for some reason in my brain, I'm just like, if I just fix this one thing, if I just spend, 20 more minutes on it, I'll never have to think about it again. So something in my head tells me that. So okay. All right. Well, hey, I learned something today. I should look into it. I've never been diagnosed or anything like that, but I have that tendency a lot. My wife knows it too, because she's just like, are you done yet? And I'm like, not yet. M to Bomb, how's it going? Had a failed Evo 870, bought four replacements of the for the Debian server. Oh my gosh, the Twitch stuff is hovering over this. Now trying to decide if I'm okay with just RAID mirror each pair or if I want ZFS mirroring instead. Trying to make a decision. Yeah, that's a tough one. If you're just going to do, software level RAID like MDAM or something like that, I assume that's what you're talking about. RAID mirror each pair or set up ZFS mirroring instead. I say if it has the capabilities to do ZFS stuff, do it. Only because, snapshotting is super fast. I don't know if you're going to use snapshotting on there, but if you do, and then caching and stuff like that, which probably doesn't even apply because I assume it's for a virtual machine or something like that. But then again, you're saying it's for a Debian server. So, so many decisions. I'm sure if you're asking the question, you know where to look and you know how to research that. But I tend to lean towards ZFS only because TrueNAS totally turned me onto it, and snapshotting is super fast. Although, you got to have RAM and you got to have caching, and then, it brings on a lot of other complexity too. So I start at 8 p.m. and I finish at 2. I don't know. That was Judah Range. I don't know what time it is, I assume. Yeah, I'm there with you. I can work on something. I look up and an hour has passed. I'm like, where am I? It's almost like I enter a flow state with a lot of stuff that I do. But that flow state can be very frustrating. I'm not getting the rewarding piece of the flow state, right? Where you do something just challenging enough, where it's a cycle of, this challenge and reward and excitement, and then challenge, reward, excitement. When you enter a flow state, I get everything but the reward, I feel like, but I'm still stuck in this cycle. Undercurve TV, 2 RAID Z mirrors. Blade, there you go. ZFS, he says ZFS too. All right, Blade says ZFS, I say ZFS. Maybe that's what you should look into, but let's see. Undercurve TV, let's see. Oh, I figured out how to get that thing to go away. I'm trying to make a Docker web UI, kind of like Portainer, that looks like a desktop UI, or just a different UI overall. I don't know. Still looking for a front-end framework. Undercurve TV, hey, maybe I can suggest one. React. Now I probably either upset half of the audience, or even just mentioning UI in general probably upset the other half. But I'm a huge fan of React. I know there are other things out there, but I will say though, if you go React, and you are serious about building a UI, and you're really going to be dedicated to seeing it through, one, there's a great community around it. Two, there's a it's a pretty popular framework, and so you're going to find a lot of support for modules and for stuff like that, to where you don't have to build everything yourself. You could use components and then just use components and use those. But the other nice thing you get with React, if you ever decide, like, hey, like you were mentioning, like I might do a desktop app, or I might do a web app, you could wrap that in something like Electron, and kind of get 2 for 1, where it's like, oh, you got a desktop app that runs React, and for the web, it runs React in almost the same code. So anyways, that's my take on it. And then if you want to go native, then you got React Native for mobile. So, but yeah, I've done a lot of React. I'm a huge fan. It's I know that things have been changing pretty rapidly in that ecosystem, which I think is a good thing. But there were a lot of breaking changes recently. But if you're just starting, that means nothing. So anyways, I vote React if I get a vote. If you don't know where to look, I would say look at React first. I would say look at React.js first, because it's pretty awesome. Galactic Avenger, your videos are always inspirational. Thank you. Keep doing you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I never know, like, how high to turn the nerd, and I just got to keep telling myself turn it to 11, because that's me all day every day. So just keep turning it to 11, because like I try not to dumb down my stuff. Not that people need to dumb down, but some people. I mean, people who aren't in I guess in this ecosystem or in this community are always like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing for me. As soon as someone I know that isn't in IT is like, oh yeah, I understood everything you said in that last video, I'm like, okay, I need to get back to my nerdy self. Either that, or everyone's IT level, knowledge level has leveled up, which would be a good thing too. But Olderish, have you already formatted your entire infra to test your backup strategy? How long does it take to restore everything? I have not. No, I've not. I've done a couple of pieces here and there. I've had to restore Proxmox at some point in time. I've had to burn down and restore my Kubernetes cluster at some point in time. I migrated them all over, to different hardware over the years, but I haven't. The main reason why I haven't, it's not because I don't trust it or know that I couldn't. It's because I don't have the hardware to do it. I don't believe in doing like an in-place burn down, tear down my production environment to do DR. I mean, most people aren't going to, and I get it. Like your home lab shouldn't be, production, but at the end of the day, we all run stuff that is kind of production-ish, to where if it's down, you might not have the same level of service you did before you took it down. So I'm kind of in the camp, like, don't get me wrong, DR is super important. I get it. And could I restore all of my infrastructure from code? No. Do I have it documented to the point where I could do it with some clicking and maybe some CLIs? Yes. Have I done it before in bits and pieces? Yes. And so for me at home, that's kind of good enough. And I know there are peers surprised say, yeah, you should totally burn it down, but I've been involved with DRs for big companies, and most of them are like, they have the script, they know what to do, but they also have the hardware, and they have all this hardware set aside and even another physical location to go to try to do it, where I don't at home. So anyways, I've never done a full DR disaster recovery. I kind of take pride in the number that I have in my head. I think my Kubernetes cluster has been alive. Now, not all the nodes, but my Kubernetes cluster, all 3 of them, have been alive for over 1,000 days. Over 1,000 days, it's been up. And so that's kind of, I feel like that's a feather in my cap on my uptime, not my uptime for my services, but that my cluster has been alive for that long, and I've been able to go all the way from Kubernetes, 1.2.1 all the way up to what I'm now, Kubernetes 1.2.6, along with everything else, and make all these changes and still have it alive. So if I had some hardware, I'd love to, but that takes, additional hardware. It might take virtual machines, but I almost have to have 1-for-1 of what I have now. And to do that, to have 1-for-1, it's going to take a lot of hardware, or it's going to mean bring everything down. And I'm, to be honest, I'm not too interested in bringing my whole environment down. But I know, and I have done individual parts and pieces before. I mean, if my firewall died, I'd kind of be in trouble. Right? Do I have backups of it? Yes. Do I have a whole, UDMSE sitting on reserve? Kind of right now I do, but that's for another project. I don't. So I kind of be in trouble. Would I know how to build pfSense within a day and get a majority of my services back up and running? Yes. Yes, I would. And so those are the kind of pieces where it's like, a true DR would say you have a spare firewall that you're going to restore your existing configuration to. I don't have that. If it came down to it, I would build a pfSense box out of something, out of even out of I don't know, Zima Blade. I would build it out of if I had to, and restore it that way to get limited functionality back. So my whole basement flooded, or my house burned down, it's going to take a little bit longer. But could I do it? Yeah, I could. With the artifacts that I have and I save, I could. It just takes some time. So anyways, no, it's a great question. It comes up a lot. But I lean towards, like, I would love to have my whole entire infrastructure as code and deploy it that way and restore it that way. But that's, it would take a lot of effort on my part to do it. Do I have everything from Kubernetes up? Yes. Do I have Proxmox infrastructure as code? No. But could I restore those VMs really quickly on a new Proxmox host? Absolutely, because they're backed up to NFS. So that's where I'm kind of like, and then do I have the hardware to do that? No. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I would love to. If DR were my job, absolutely. But it's not. So I focus more on my cluster up and what that means for me. And for me, that means, backing up data that I can't recreate. And I do that. I think I do that pretty good. And all of my infrastructure in general can be restored or can be recreated with the artifacts that I have. And I have a playbook that I would follow, right? I mean, that's the first step, I think, of DR is having that playbook. Not Ansible playbook, but a playbook that an operator or someone would follow, go here, do this, restore this in this order. And I do. It's all in my notes. I probably need to improve them a little bit. No, this is a good topic. This is a good topic. I like it. So thank you for asking. It would take me, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I think I could have it up pretty quick. Depends on what it is, right? I have so many services. Would Plex be up on day one? Probably. Would live TV be up on day one? Probably. Would most things be up on day one? Probably. But I, like I said, and just me doing this in the past and migrating from so many different systems, I think I could have it up. And I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I moved firewalls so many times. I've moved OS so many times. I've moved hypervisors so many times. I've moved NASs so many times that it's, and even Kubernetes, and I've done so many things in the cloud. I just have a lot of experience to where I have a high degree of confidence that the artifacts that I have are enough, and I would be able to restore it if something were to happen. Don't, but I'm not taking any bets though. Anyways, let's see. ACL for AD TrueNAS. Yeah, I think that's what we were talking about. If I recall, OpenLDAP is built into pfSense. I don't remember if it is or not, but if it is, that's pretty awesome. Jeff has a video from Craft Computing. All right, yeah, good call. Jeff probably has one for AD and TrueNAS as well. Good call. Dylan Royal Gaming. I've been working on setting up an Nginx streamer for live stream events. That is awesome. So instead of using StreamYard, or any of these other streaming restreamers or Restream itself, setting up your own. I like it. Bill, doesn't Samba 4 have an AD controller? I don't know. Does Samba 4 have an AD control? I think, yeah. Does Samba 4 work with AD? I don't know. I would assume it is. I don't know if that's the question you're asking. Samba can't do everything AD can, though. That is true. That is true. GamePin, I'm working on setting up an OpenStack and would love to speak to someone that has built it before. The docs are less than helpful when you draw outside the lines. I don't have an experience with OpenStack. I wish I could help you. I'm sure people in our Discord do, but I don't. I've always, that's another thing too, where I wish I had a little bit more hardware, because I would like to look at OpenStack and see how hyperconverged everything in OpenStack would work, because you manage your VMs, you manage your Kubernetes cluster, you manage all the things through one interface. It's super interesting and enticing, but again, don't have a ton of hardware. I think if I at some point upgrade my Intel NUCs, that's going to be my test cluster for a lot of stuff, and not just, I don't mean just for Kubernetes, but I mean things like this. Like, hey, I would love to be able to, have a cluster of 3 things to test out OpenStack, because it sounds awesome. I could probably do OpenStack on 1, but still, it's fun having 3. Let's see if you can. I'm working on. Oh no, sorry. Cool gamers. If you can get a non-eval server ISO, you don't need to activate it. Yeah. I'm sure there are lots of ways to get that, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I should. Yeah, I mean, I used to have a Microsoft developer account where I could test out these things, and this would be a perfect thing to test out. But I don't have an MSDN anymore, so I can't do that. But yeah, that would have been a perfect use case, like an MSDN where I had a key that I could use for non-production stuff. That would be great. Mr. Technician, hi, I'm working on a major web scraping project to make Amtrak rail fares more accessible. Mr. Transmission, I like it. That sounds awesome. I've done web scraping before. What you're probably going to run into, I'll tell you where some of the landmines are. When you do web scraping, a lot of companies use stuff like Cloudflare or anti-bot stuff. And so I don't know if Amtrak does. I assume they do, because a lot of people do, because like if you're scraping their data, a lot of the times like companies some companies don't care as much that you're scraping their prices for price comparison, although a lot do. But some companies don't. It's just that they don't want to pay for the resources for some bot scraping their stuff. Imagine if hundreds and thousands of bots were scraping your own website all the time, right? All the time. I'm talking about like just nailing you with scraping, and it's exercising all that code. At the end of the day, you're exercising infrastructure and possibly paying egress fees on that stuff. And so, that's where, scraping kind of gets kind of weird. Like, a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot, but some companies don't care if you scrape their stuff, but they don't want to pay the additional load that it costs for you to scrape their stuff. So, and some companies, like most retailers, don't want you scraping their prices because of price comparison. But anyways, I've done a lot of this stuff. I would say that is awesome. Yeah, that would be awesome to get Amtrak ticket prices, make them more accessible. I haven't looked at their website in a long time. I am familiar with Amtrak. It's a railway that runs across most of the U.S., but it sounds awesome. That's probably what you're going to run into. If you run into bots, you're going to run into blocking. You're going to have to try to act like you're not a bot, and there are tools to do that, Phantom.js, and there's a whole bunch of Node or Chrome type headless browsers where you can kind of act like a real person. And then at the end of the day, if they're blocking everything you got, then you got to go through some proxy that makes you look like you're not coming from the cloud or from your home and look like individual users. So, but if you're not running into any of that, no problem. But if you start doing it at scale, you might too. You might trip some other alert to say, hey, this bot's been hitting me, once an hour, twice an hour, once every minute, and that could flag some heuristic to say, yeah, we're just going to block that person. So anyways, it's fun stuff. It's totally a cat and mouse game, and it's fun sometimes to be the mouse or the cat, whichever side you look at. Let's see. Galactic currently working on moving 11 terabytes of data from one pool data set to another TrueNAS core. Hey, I'm there with you. I just went through that whole migration. I think I migrated 40 terabytes of stuff. And I did it from my physical. I did it from my virtual TrueNAS on my Stornator to my physical HL15 on my HL15, and it went bare metal. And I did that. I didn't do it through the network though. I had to do some through the network, but because there wasn't enough space. But I did move a majority of it, just pool to pool. And then moved some of it off after that, and then expanded my pool later. But I had to do disk to disk for some of it because I had to reconfigure one pool, or my main pool, to be mirrored VDEVs. So that kind of forced me to do it. And then out of that, I got the free defrag, that I didn't get otherwise. But yeah, it takes time, man. It takes time. And then whatever you're doing to check, make sure that that's okay. If you're doing ZFS stuff, just run a scrub afterwards. But if you're doing something like Robocopy, like I had to do a few times, run it a few times. Just make sure that Robocopy does check and make sure that everything is proper. But if you're doing ZFS, yeah, just scrub. You've probably done this before if you're doing a mass migration like that. But I would scrub your target pool after you're done, so you can ensure that it really is still healthy. So anyways, I'm so sorry. I've been like not even paying attention to follows. Let me call them out real quick. Crosbow, Werso, Whiskered Worm, Andy Gickling. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Thank you so much. I'm going to answer a couple more in order. I do apologize. I'm going way over. I started late, but I've been going way over just because there's so many great questions. And again, I do apologize that I can't highlight the message. That is something that will fix immediately after this stream. So it'll hopefully work next stream. So let's see. All right. So did you mean you're using, let me see. I thought about doing this, not sure, maintain. Now I just scrolled and I lost some stuff. Let's see. My AD domain at home, I have had since, Windows Server 2003 R2. Yeah. PC Geek. Yeah, I probably do have some old 2003 R2 keys now that you mention it. But yeah, I also have to have, some additional disk space and RAMs. Actually, 2003 R2 probably doesn't need a lot of RAM. Let's see, Mr. Technician. So does that mean you are back to using the UDM Pro in your rack, or is this a new UDSME? This is a new one. My Pro I sold to my friend. So as soon as I upgraded, I bought UDMSE, sold it to my friend immediately. That was part of the deal. I was like, hey, do you want to buy my Pro? And as soon as he said yes, I purchased the UDMSE. So nope, this one's a new one. This is going to go in the Colo rack. I'm going to see how it works out, because like I said, I need at least eight switch ports, and more than 1 gigabit internet, which this does, and then at the same time firewall and stuff. So when I started doing the math, I'm like, this thing does everything that I need for my Colo in the space that I have. So it was hard to slice it, and I can't have things dangling there. Like, it needs to be rack mounted. Let's see, Blade. The only thing to be careful about with that is that the ports of the UDM is a shared 1 gig backplane. I thought it was total of like 3-ish, which is okay, because these are going to be doing a majority web-ish traffic. And so I'm just going to do 1 gig lag on these. But I haven't figured it all out yet. But that's a good call out. That is a good call out. I think for this small of a Colo install, with 3 servers, I only have a total of 4U. With 3 servers, I think I might be okay with dual 1 gig lag, because doing mostly web type traffic. But no, that's a good call out. I'll have to put it to the test when I start working on this Colo video for sure, because it's I don't know. It's kind of scary. It's like sending your kids off to camp or something. I don't know. Don't have kids, never went to camp, but I could imagine like I'm just going to put them somewhere else and hope they do okay indefinitely. That's not like camp. They come home, I assume, but these aren't coming home unless something goes terribly wrong. And so that's what I'm trying to defend against. So Okay, looking forward to the Colo video. Hey, thanks, Galactic Avenger. Wayfinder, this is the last one because I'm going way over. I do apologize. I have too many things to work on. Today, I am trying to migrate all of my services from RPI-based or Raspberry Pi-based Kubernetes cluster to one new cluster running on Proxmox VMs. Also, finally getting AJ Pi-hole and Unbound setup. Hey, awesome. That sounds right up my alley. sounds like fun. That is awesome. I'm curious, and this is just a food for thought because I'm going to be ending here soon. But when you say you're migrating all your services from Raspberry Pi to Kubernetes cluster, I wonder, are you spinning up like a multi-architecture cluster where you're adding your x86 nodes to this cluster and then cordoning and draining your old Raspberry Pi cluster? Because I think that's awesome. So that's awesome too, and that's one of the big reasons why I haven't had to do DR when I've built new clusters or I built new machines. I just add nodes to my cluster, cordon the old node. Cordon means in Kubernetes terms, hey, don't take on any more workloads, and then I'll drain them, which means, hey, evict all workloads. Yeah, there's some options to it, but in general, kick off all the old workloads, and then those workloads will just move over to the new nodes. And so if you haven't done it, and maybe this is going to be some scope creep, and tell me, go pound sand if you don't want to do it. But yeah, a nice challenge would be like, hey, add these new nodes, these new x86 nodes to your existing cluster. Let that, let them get acquainted, let things kind of replicate and settle, and then cordon your old nodes, and then drain your old nodes, and then just let them move over. You can just delete the node. You can, but like the best way to do it, because if you just delete the node, then you kind of have those pods like hanging out, maybe failing and terminating indefinitely. You can. I mean, Kubernetes will recover from that. But in general, that's kind of like, it can recover from that, but it's not the best way to do it, I would say. I would cordon and drain, because that actually tells Kubernetes like, hey, you don't need to like recover from something disappearing. You cordon and drain, and then boom, move them off, then shut down, then delete, or delete, then shut down. That's usually how I do it. I'm bad at that though too. So I've been guilty of deleting nodes, but I think the proper way is to cordon and drain, which is cool, because then you get to actually see it, in action, doing what it needs to do, and then. Once you see the good way, delete the node like PC Geek says, and see it that way too. Hey, if you have multiple nodes, why not? Why try, test in production each way. Okay, hey everyone, thank you so much for joining in today. Sorry I went a little bit over, and sorry it was a little bit late. I'll try to fix the chat. I'm going to fix the chat right after this. I need to move some stuff around so that this is a little more resilient. My Twitch stream isn't as resilient as my cluster, as you can see. But I do appreciate it coming out. There was follows, there was resubs, there was new subs. Thank you guys all so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you want to continue the conversation, if you want to tell me I'm wrong, if you want to, ask me for a clarification on something, or get help from other people who have done stuff like I haven't done, like we were just talking about, TrueNAS, Active Directory, and permissions, you should absolutely join our Discord. We have a Discord full of almost, I think we're mid 9,000, almost 10,000 people. I'd love for you to join. Low pings, pretty laid back, a lot of nice people, a lot of great ideas, and I'd love for you to join. Find a lurk there too, because I think you'll find in lurking, you'll learn a lot too. So absolutely encourage you to join. You could use !Discord, or just search Google for Techno Tim Discord. I will be back on here next Saturday, and till then I'll be in Discord. I'm going to be working on some stuff for YouTube. Hopefully I get that out this week. I really hope so, because it's fun stuff. So anyways, have a great Saturday. Enjoy your weekend, and be good to each other. Take care, folks.